Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2017 fantasy action buddy cop movie Bright, which I also felt, no pun intended, was a legitimate bright spot when it comes to films that came out in 2017. This is Netflix's multi-million-dollar movie, cost about $90 million to make. It was a huge risk on their part. And I personally felt it paid off. I thought this was a legitimately really good movie. And it is already in my top 10 when it comes to my favorite films of the year. I really enjoyed Bright. I thought it was an entertaining, interesting, intriguing, and rather stirring film. I don't really understand the 28% Rotten Tomatoes at all. I don't get it. I don't understand critics saying it deserves an F. I don't get critics saying it's the worst film of 2017. I mean, really? Bright is the worst film of 2017. Like, even my cat is like, oh, it's just bullshit. Come on. Bright isn't the worst film of 2017. All these critics, giving praise to stuff like Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which I like to call Welcome to the Bungle, because it bungles everything that it possibly can in terms of story, writing, characters, action sequences. It's a total bungle of a movie, but that film got a pass by critics for some reason and got praise, but Bright gets a fucking baseball bat upside its head. I don't understand. I don't get it. I think part of it is maybe a potential agenda against the film because it's a Netflix movie. Critics, they are probably working for Hollywood, and they're like, well, we don't really want to lose our day job, or it's not like you lose your job as a critic just because Netflix has some successful movies. That's what I don't get. It's just one of those things where I understand, yes, it's one's personal opinion, but it just seems like the reviews that I've read about Bright that are really negative are to the extreme. To a point where it seems like it's just ridiculous to me. Like, it screams of just some small publication getting paid by some studio to write the most negative review possible of Bright because, hey, here's some extra money, write a bad review. We don't want Netflix to be having films that are successful and taking away movies that we could release in theaters or creating competition for us. Because think about it. If people could pay $9.99 a month and just stream blockbuster new movies on Netflix, they're less likely to go to the theater. I don't blame them. But with the new Movie Pass option, which I actually did sign up for, so expect more reviews of 2018 films coming soon. Because of that, more people probably go to the theater if they can get the pass to work and all of that, and they have theaters where the Movie Pass works at. But that's a nice step forward for the future of theater goer, for the future of theaters and films in theaters, and that's a nice competition to Netflix. I know I'm more willing to go see a movie in the theater if I can see one a day, and I can just go and use this Movie Pass, and I don't have to pay $10-15 to see a film in the theater. That's something that I'm definitely willing to do. Bright is also a film I would have seen in the theater. I would have seen this in the theater, and it would have looked great in the theater. It would have been a great experience in the theater. But I'm glad Netflix took the risk and made the film, because this is, in my opinion, one of the best films of the year. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I have no issue with that, but I really enjoyed Bright. I thought it was a fairly brilliant film at times, especially with how it was just a really fun throwback movie. I really liked Kong Skull Island because it was a throwback action-adventure movie, and I really liked Bright because it was a throwback buddy cop movie. Yes, it does borrow some elements from Alien Nation, but critics didn't like Alien Nation either. And to be honest, as much as I like Alien Nation, I actually like Bright a little bit more. I think Bright has better action sequences. I think Bright is a better villain. And while Alienation might handle the whole incorporation of the newcomers into society better than Bright does, I still think Bright is the better film overall. And that's nothing against Alienation. I think that's a good movie. I think it's actually quite underrated. But I prefer Bright a little bit more. Now, Bright is directed by David Ayer, and this is a director who is very hit and miss for me. I liked Street Kings, I liked End of Watch, but I hated Sabotage. That entire movie was a sabotage, as far as I'm concerned. Sabotage of expectations, a sabotage of storytelling, and just a total toilet full of shit, which they happen to actually move one of those in the movie. That movie dumped ass. A Suicide Squad had its moments, but I thought it was a mess at the end of the day. So David Ayer is a hit and miss guy, but I gotta be honest, I think he definitely has a hit with Bright. And it makes me think, and it makes me wonder what his Suicide Squad would have been if Warner Brothers stayed the fuck out of his way. Like, if Warner Brothers didn't get involved with the production, or didn't start meddling as much as they did, what if they just let him make the movie he wanted to, and made it R-rated? Would that have been a good movie? That's a possibility, because Bright is R-rated and it embraces that rating. And it's a big benefit for the film that it is rated R, in my opinion. So, it's also written by Max Landis, who is a writer who also has a lot of controversy. I liked his script for Chronicle. I thought his script for this was fairly good too. I know a lot of people knocked it for its social commentary and its forced messages. I didn't think they were nearly as forced as some critics said they were. It could have been even more forced if it wanted to, easily. I didn't feel like there was social commentary every minute and trying to shove it down your throat, like for something like Machete. You know, Machete's like the border, the border, the border. This wasn't like racism, 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 racism every single minute like it felt when I was watching Machete. But that's just my personal opinion. And I don't get the criticism of, well, it doesn't expand the world that much, and it didn't give us all this backstory to start out the film. And I'm like, I didn't need that. I really did not need that, because honestly, the film is a slow starter, and if you spent like 30 to 40 minutes in a movie that's already close to 2 hours, and you added another 30 minutes to it just to expand the backstory, I think that would absolutely kill the film, because the pacing would be horrible. Because you'd have a whole hour of the movie where not a lot happens, and except for some nice back and forth with the characters. This film is a slow starter, takes a bit to get going, and takes a bit for the action to start. But when it does, it's really entertaining, and the action is really exciting. But if you tacked on an extra 30 minutes to explain the plot and all the other backstories and all of that, I feel that would have hurt the film. That's just me personally. That's how I felt about Kong Skull Island. A lot of people complaining about the lack of character development in that, and I felt that would have hurt the film's pacing. So I was fine with the film the way it was. And I feel the same way about Bright. I didn't need any more. And there's like the featurette on YouTube that explains some more of the backstory. You can have a sequel that it can explain some more. A little bits and pieces was enough for me. I did not need to have like 30 minutes to explain the whole backstory of how this world came to be. It wasn't necessary to me. I liked that I was dropped into the story at the same time as the main characters were. Jacoby and Ward were dropped into this, and then I was dropped into it at the same time. So I was able to experience things just like they did at the same time. I didn't have an issue with it. Max Landis' script, one of the issues I did have with it is maybe could have had a little bit more about the villains, could have established them a little bit more, and established more of the sequences that show you more of the crazy, fantastical creatures in this world. I mean, you see a dragon flying overhead in one shot. It would have been nice to see more dragons and things like that. But other than that, I really honestly don't think his script is that bad. I don't think it's nearly as awful as a lot of critics say it was. I don't get the people saying it's confusing and doesn't make any sense. It's a very straightforward plot. I really never felt like it ever lost me at any point. And I felt Max did a good job with the one-liners and a good job with the dialogue between the characters. And he did, I thought he did a really good job with the two main characters in terms of their backstories, in terms of their characterization. And it's essentially their film. It's Will Smith and Joel Edgerton's film anyway. So I was totally fine with Max Landis' script. I didn't think it was that much of an issue. The score by David Sardi and Junkie XL, it has its moments, but, you know, I would have to say the score could have been a little bit better, but it doesn't really hurt the film. Cinematography by Roman Vasanov, I thought was actually quite good. I thought it really fit Ayer's gritty, dark direction, and there were certain shots in it that I thought the film really did look good. It looked great. It had a nice look to it. I don't get the critics saying that the cinematography is bad. I don't understand that at all. Same thing goes for David Ayer's direction. I thought this is, like I said, this is one of the better films I've seen him direct in a while. And I never really thought his directing at Suicide Squad was that big of an issue either. He does know how to do these gritty visuals really well. He's a great director for that. And I know a lot of people criticize the film for not being light enough. Like, it took itself too seriously, and I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad it didn't do that. I'm glad it wasn't light and airy and then had some gritty moments. I'm glad it was gritty and real and then had moments of levity. It's not like this movie didn't have any moments of levity. It had some fun one-liners, some really hilarious stuff in it. It's just one of those films that it decided to take more of a serious approach to this fantastical world and this fantastical story, and I think that was the right idea, because you see enough of the lighthearted stuff with Marvel movies and things like that. I didn't really need that. I liked that Bright took a different approach than the norm. The norm is to try to copy Marvel, and I'm glad that this film didn't do that. It was like, nah, we're not going to go there. We're not going to do that. And it balanced the humor and the grit a lot better than any of the other DC movies did in the current DCU. The editing by Michael Tronick, I also thought was quite good. I didn't get a lot of the criticism against the editing. I thought the editing was fine, especially during a lot of the action sequences. I thought the editing was quite tight, and I thought it added to the excitement and the thrills of certain scenes. And then you have the cast, which I felt was quite strong. Will Smith as Daryl Ward. It was really a lot of fun to see Will Smith be the Will Smith that I fell in love with, the Will Smith that I like, not this sad sack, depressing Will Smith that's been in a lot of films lately. It's like he lost his spirit, he lost his charisma. For example, watch After Earth and then go and watch this. And that's another thing. How can this be the worst film of Will Smith's career? Like, this is worse than After Earth? This is worse than Wild Wild West? This is worse than Men in Black 2? This is worse than, what was that other movie he did? I'm trying to remember what the hell it was called. It came out last year, and I don't remember what it is because it was so forgettable, and I didn't even bother to watch it. But I've heard a lot of bad things about it. How is this the worst film of his career? Like, I don't even understand. I don't get that either. Like, and the whole thing, oh, it's racist. Well, I agree with my friend when he says, like, well, if it was so racist, wouldn't Will Smith say something about it? You know, wouldn't Will Smith be like, hey, this shit's racist. You need to change it up, or I'm not going to do it. I mean, come on. And I understand, yeah, the orcs, they kind of dress up like they're gangsters. Yeah, but there are other shots in the film that show other orcs, and they're not dressed like gangsters. They're dressed like normal people. You just have to pay attention. Yeah, it might be in the background, but that doesn't mean it's not there. But yeah, Will Smith, I really enjoyed his performance in this. It reminded me of the roles I saw in Independence Day and the Bad Boys films, and it was a real refreshing thing to see that again. Joel Edgerton, I thought, was fantastic. I thought he was quite stellar, actually, as Nick Jacoby, the first orcish police officer who partners with Daryl, Will Smith's character. I thought he was perfect for the role, one of his better performances, and he did a great job acting through the makeup. He actually became that orc character. I bought it. And that's another thing that's really worth talking about and definitely noteworthy about Bright is the makeup and the practical effects in the first place. This is a $90 million production, and a majority of the effects are done practically. There's not a lot of CGI in this, and that was really nice to see. There was a lot of wire stunts and wire foo when they need to have the elves do all these crazy stunts and martial arts moves. When something exploded, for the most part, it was actually something actually exploding and not exploding inside of a computer. The blood in this was mostly done practical. There's a elf who gets her throat slit, and it's all done practically. It's actual corn syrup and food coloring. You had the scene where one of the elves gets blown in half, which looks like it was done practical. The makeup effects on the elves and on the orcs are all practical. It's not CGI. So, yeah, that's a huge feather in this film's cap for me personally. And another feather is Noomi Rapace, who I was like totally blown away by in this as the villain Lalaya or whatever, or I don't know how to say her name, but she was a badass. I would have liked to have seen more character development for her, but what we got was a badass female villain, which I don't know why more critics aren't praising her. Like, well, let's slam the film, and let's slam it because the women don't have enough screen time, and the film's not based around them, and we don't have a lot of character development about Lalia and Tika, and maybe I would have liked to have more, but it didn't overall hurt my enjoyment of the movie, and I'm definitely not going to give the film an F because of that. But why aren't more people saying, like, wow, a strong female villain who's ruthless and badass? Played by the actress who was in Prometheus, which I thought she was terrible in that, and I couldn't even believe it was the same actress. Lucy Fry was fine too as Tika. I don't understand the criticism with that character. Oh, she's just acting like she's scared all the time, and it's so sexist. She's in environments that she's never been in before. And she's an elf, and elves kind of have that sort of, some of them have that kind of personality where they're kind of aloof and kind of freaked out easily by different environments. I didn't feel it was that sexist at all, and I actually thought it made sense. She's never been in this type of environment before. What is she supposed to do? Be all like, wow, I've never been here before, and these orcs are scary, and all this other stuff, and gunfire is going on around me. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be super strong right out of the bat. That doesn't make any sense. That makes even less. I mean, come on, really. It makes perfect sense that she's acting scared. But she gets stronger as the film goes on, so it's not like she remains a scared little elf for the rest of the movie. And there's a few other actors and actresses that were in this that did all right jobs. I mean, you got Edgar Ramirez, who plays a high-ranking elvish FBI agent. Ike Barinholtz plays an asshole cop. You got Margaret Cho, who plays another asshole cop. You have Jay Hernandez, who has a bit role as Rodriguez, and it does a fine job. And I like Jay Hernandez. So the cast is solid, but like I said, it's definitely more of Will Smith and Joel Edgerton's film. And they carry the movie, and they do a good job with that. The movie has like a running time of about 118 minutes. At times, it can be a little bit slow paced. Like I said, it takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, it really kicks things into overdrive and is one of the better action films I've seen this year. No, it's not up there with John Wick Chapter 2, but not very many action films from this year are. But there's still a lot of nice, fun action sequences. There's a nice car chase. There's some great shootouts. And there's some nice crowd-pleasing moments. When there's one of the elves, they get blown up, get blown in half of the bomb. That was a great sequence. And, yeah, I thought the film really was a treat. I thought it was a nice treat, not only to the eyes, but to the ears, because there was just fun lines of dialogue, and a decent score, and a great song at the end credits that I really like called Home. And it, for the most part, even though it was a little bit slow paced, once it got going, it went by at a quick enough pace for me. I liked the world it created. I loved how the elves lived in this kind of Beverly Hills type of city, and they were all prissy and uptight and so on. I thought that was actually a nice addition, and actually was quite. I thought that was quite brilliant because I thought that was totally the kind of thing that you would imagine elves being. And the elves run the world and all of this and so on because they're so smart and intelligent and so on. And the stuff with the orcs I thought was fine. I didn't have an issue with it. And I really liked Jacoby. I thought that was a really well written character, and I really liked Joel Edgerton's performance. And I love I really liked the back and forth between Ward and Jacoby. I thought Will Smith and Joel Edgerton had wonderful chemistry with each other. It was some of the best buddy cop chemistry I've seen in a film in a long time. Because a lot of the times you see a lot of these buddy cop movies, they're trying to embrace or be like Lethal Weapon, and they suck because you have these characters and these actors who have no chemistry with each other, which is one of the main things that makes a buddy cop film work. So I don't understand. I don't get why this film is getting an epic ton of shit piled on top of it. It's getting the sledgehammer by so many critics. It's nowhere near that bad. I highly recommend you give it a watch for yourself. Make up your own mind. I really do feel that a lot of people should do that. If it at all sounded curious to you, if you like the trailer, definitely check it out. Give it a watch. Give Bright a chance. Don't just listen to all these bad reviews. Don't just read all of these critics slamming the film and skip the movie. I think it's too good of a film, in my personal opinion, to do that. So check it out. If you like it, cool. If you end up not liking it and you agree with the critics, that's fine too. But anyway, I don't know what else to say except thank you for watching my review of Bright. And as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.